Well, today the U.S. Treasury Department issued some guidance on eligibility for the Sustainable Aviation Fuel tax credit in the Inflation Reduction Act. And here to visit about that is Joe Kakis. She is with Growth Energy Legal Counsel there. Let's talk about this decision. I know it includes the GREET model, and that was a pretty important part of this decision, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the Biden administration has recognized the value of the GREET model. There will be what it calls the Section 40B model that they plan on putting out by March. And it's really important to get the details right. So I think they've laid the foundation for ensuring that American crop-based biofuels like cornstarch bioethanol can qualify, but it really is the devils are really going to be in the details. So we are awaiting that final determination come March.
So how will they make that determination? Do you know what will all go into that decision?
Yes, so the GREET model has been developed within the Department of Energy and the Argonne National Lab. So they're really the agency and issue experts on that particular model. And what the guidance states is that Treasury will be working in close consultation with DOE in the next couple of months to finalize that for application within the Section 40B credit.
Mm-hmm. But Joe, the GREET model is actually used by other states as far as their low carbon fuel standards?
That's correct. There are different variants of the GREET model that are tailored for particular state circumstances and policy goals. California uses a version of GREET, as does the state of Washington. So it's a widely accepted model that is regularly updated, and it's based on and relies upon certain assumptions and inputs about land use, land type that are really relevant for the American crop sort of situation.
So, Joe, at this point, do we know if bio-based corn ethanol is going to qualify for the SAF credit?
So that's the open question. So, under the GREET model, currently, we believe that cornstarch ethanol favors can be favorably and accurately treated. So when we hear that the agency, the Treasury Department, is looking to develop a new GREET model for Section 40B specifically, we're very keen to ensure that accuracy that we've come to expect from GREET will carry through come March when they issue this new guidance on it.
And that's really important because there's a lot of
folks that this particular provision is only for 2023 and 2024, but it will also be another provision, Section 45Z, which will carry us through for a couple more years. The challenge, of course, is this ramp-up time. This is a significant development for the industry, and we need as much time. We need a significant amount of time to make sure that the industry can react. You can't do that when the incentives aren't right. So this credit provides a sliding scale between $1.25 and $1.75 once you've reached the threshold carbon reduction requirements, and we want to make sure that we get full recognition for every effort that we're making to reduce that carbon intensity score.
So who right now is eligible for the current tax credit?
So the way that the guidance comes out now is it incorporates what's called the ICAO model, but it also allows the use of land use and life cycle analysis models under the current renewable fuel standard. So if you had qualified under as an advanced fuel category, except under limited circumstances, you should be able to qualify for a SAF credit here under the rules that were announced, the guidance that was announced today.
So bio-based renewable diesel, that sort of thing, would qualify under the current standard. Is that right?
That's right. Anything that will get a D4, what's called a D4 advanced RIN, would likely be eligible under Section 40B. I mean, there are other requirements under the statute that are separate and different from the RFS, but that's sort of roughly the guide that they laid down here to give biofuels producers more flexibility than they otherwise might have.
Okay. So, Joe, why was corn-based bioethanol maybe not part of that eligibility?
Well, I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt to the Treasury Department here. This is a new area for them. This is a new type of credit, and they have to rely on their agency partners. So DOE, USDA, EPA, they all have had a hand in educating Treasury about the importance of crop-based biofuels, including cornstarch ethanol, to ensuring that the Biden administration, meets its SAF grant challenge, which is 3 billion gallons of SAF by 2030. And I would say they want to make sure they get it right. And, our industry is definitely here to help them. And we've been advocating pretty regularly with them with data and good science to show that, cornstarch ethanol can and should play a competitive role in meeting those goals.
Yeah. So the devil's always in the details, but at least on face value, Growth Energy is pretty happy with what the initial language was this morning.
I'll call it an important first step, as we did in our statement. And the reason why we say that is, broad strokes about eligibility don't really move the needle in terms of incentives. As you know, we need that type of granular certainty that market investors are dependent upon as they make these investment decisions. And that's really going to depend on what happens in March when they give us, when the rubber hits the road. I'm sorry to use so many different phrases, but when the rubber hits the road with respect to the modeling, because then that could make the difference between being eligible at all or being eligible to take the maximum credit under the provision. So there's a good 50-cent spread between initial eligibility and maximum credits under there, and that makes a difference.
All right, so corn-based ethanol already maybe qualifies for this, so now you're just trying to get the maximum benefit, is what you're saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why it's a good first step. We're not sure that corn-based or starch-based corn bioethanol would be able to achieve even the threshold under the existing modeling. So one tweak about the RFS, for example, is that cornstarch ethanol is not allowed to qualify as an advanced fuel, advanced renewable fuel. And so by incorporating reference to the renewable fuel standard here in the Section 40B credit, they basically said, if you have cornstarch-based ethanol, you can't qualify through the RFS model to get there. That's why we need to lean on GREET to ensure that GREET is done right, so that's the pathway for cornstarch-based ethanol to be eligible for those credits.
All right, that's an important clarification that you made there. And you guys will be providing guidance as this process goes through?
Absolutely. We've written at least 5 letters, I think, to Treasury on modeling in particular and SAF in particular. I think we have the strength of the science behind us, and we'll continue to advocate to make sure that Treasury meets congressional intent, which is to ensure that we maximize these climate benefits through this incentive program. And if you get that modeling wrong and you exclude what is the largest feedstock for this type of SAF credit, you're never going to reach the goals that we have envisioned, that Congress and the administration envisioned when making this law.
Well, we appreciate that update today, and we'll be watching around March 1st for all of the details of that. Joe Kakish joining us, legal counsel with Growth Energy.